Hello, and welcome to I Am God's Witness. Today, I have 3 more amazing true angel stories. Our first story is from a lady in Florida who saw 3 archangels at the hour of her father's passing. In our second story, a lady gets angelic help with some heavy lifting. And in the third story, a mother and daughter see something heavenly traveling with them all the way home. Before I begin, be sure to check the video description for links to more information related to the topics discussed. Also, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. It will help get our content recommended to more people on YouTube. Here's our first story.
In October of 2001, my father was very ill in the hospital. I would spend every day and night with him. On October 27th, I got very ill and couldn't even get off the bed to go see him. At around 7 p.m., the hospital called, and the nurse didn't have to say anything to me. I just knew he had passed away, so I started crying and soon left for the hospital. When I got to the hospital, as I entered my father's room and stood in front of his bed, I saw the most amazing and wonderful thing. 3 bright angels were floating in the air around him, 1 on each side, and the 3rd angel at his head. They were white, blue, and green in color. I had never seen an angel before, especially with so many details. I've always believed in angels, but I never thought I would ever see one. At the time, I didn't know their names, but the next day, when I went to a store by my house, I saw a lady I knew and told her what I had seen. She recognized who they were by their colors and was able to tell me their names. It was Archangel Gabriel, Michael, and Raphael. Soon, others in the store overheard my conversation and gathered around to hear what I witnessed. My father was a wonderful, loving husband, father, grandfather, and father-in-law. The angels came to take him home, and I thank God for the blessing to see his glorious angels by my father's side.
What a beautiful witness, and thank you for sharing your vision. It's such a comfort when we know God is taking care of our loved ones as they make the transition that we call death. It also gives us the certainty that there really is life after death, and that our souls do move on to prepare for the next adventure in our never-ending quest for spiritual perfection. For our next story, a lady shares how the angels helped her do some heavy lifting. Here's what she says.
I must witness to the power and most immediate physical presence of the angels. I was getting ready to drive cross-country to start a new job and had packed up 2 big wooden chests with everything I could cram into them. My dad helped me put them into my car. The biggest chest would go in the trunk and the other would just fit in the back seat. I needed to drop them off with the friends I was carpooling with so they could load them onto their large van. One chest was so heavy that my dad and I strained together with every bit of our strength to lift and shove it into the trunk. It was quite a scene. My dad was about to give up because we were having so much trouble. I think he was even contemplating throwing some of my things out of the chest. He tends to be of the opinion that ladies always pack more than they need when they go someplace. In this instance, he was sure I was living up to that reputation. By God's grace, after about a half an hour, we finally got the large heavy chest into the trunk of my car, and the other one we stuffed into the back seat. So I drove to my friend's house and rang the doorbell. To my horror, there was no answer. Now what? I asked myself. I had no choice but to leave them there because they needed to be loaded into the van to be delivered to where I was moving to. I was counting on the 2 to 3 big, strong men who also lived at the house to get the chests out of my car for me. I was stuck, the scene of the trouble my dad and I had kept going through my mind. There's absolutely no way I can get the chests out by myself, I thought. I tried lifting one. It barely budged. Getting the chest out would be worse than getting it in because of the angle of the trunk. I tried the doorbell again. Still no answer. I thought for a few minutes. There wasn't time to drive away and come back again, and I didn't have time to wait. The only choice was to somehow get them out by myself. So I made an emergency prayer to the angels and told them how desperate I was and that I needed them to get the chests out for me. I started lifting the first one. To my amazement, I felt like someone was inside of the trunk, lifting and pushing from the other end, and it came out instantly. Still amazed, I went to the back seat, and that chest also slipped out with ease. Thanking the angels, I dragged them off to the side, and as I prepared to leave, my friend who lived at the house suddenly came out. I realized that the whole situation had been a setup by God to prove to me the wondrous presence and power of the beloved angels who are just waiting for our prayers.
Another great testament to the presence and power of the angels who are always there to help us when we call to them. Thank you for sharing your experience. In our last story, a mother and daughter see some heavenly beings traveling in front of them all the way home. Here is their story.
One clear winter evening in Corwin Springs, Montana, after a very full day of Summit University classes for me and Montessori International School for my 7-year-old daughter, we headed for home in our car. Soon after we made the turn onto Highway 89 and made calls to Archangel Michael for protection while driving, I noticed something very peculiar directly in front of the car. I saw what appeared to be the outline of the head and shoulders of 2 enormous transparent blue beings 15 to 20 feet ahead of us. They were identical and stood upright. They were surrounded by a circle of light and were traveling at the exact speed as us. After a few moments, I asked my daughter if she saw anything. She said, "You mean those 2 big blue things?" Astonished, I then asked her to describe what she was seeing. She described exactly what I was seeing. I am convinced that we were seeing blue flame angels. I have never, to my knowledge, seen an angel before or since. I knew that children often see angels, but I never thought I would be so fortunate. Truth be known, I guess I didn't think myself worthy of such a blessing. I am so grateful that my daughter was with me that night, not only because she was there to see the angels too, but because if she had not been there, I probably would have attributed the vision to my imagination or some other logical explanation. They were with us the entire way and never left our sight until we pulled into our driveway.
Thank you for sharing your amazing story. It truly is a blessing to see God's angels. I feel that when we are in the right vibration spiritually, God opens our eyes so we can get a glimpse of things that are just beyond the veil of our physical sight. There may be benign or malevolent things around us that we don't see with our physical sight, but can affect our thoughts and emotions. It's important that we call to Archangel Michael to surround us at all times, so we won't become vulnerable to negative influences but only inspired by what is divine and holy. Thank you for listening to our witnesses. I hope these stories brought you hope and faith that God is real and sends His angels when we need them in our lives. If you liked what you heard, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Doing so will help get these stories to more people on YouTube. Thank you.